Most people you argue with will never understand you. Not because your logic is weak, not because your explanation is bad, but because they simply cannot understand you. That is the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to accept. You believe people are choosing to be ignorant. You think if you explain better, argue harder, or show more proof, they will finally understand. But what if the real reason is darker than that? What if foolishness is not a mistake? What if it is built into human nature itself? We like to believe that humans are rational beings, that people think, analyze, and then decide. But this belief is comforting, not true. Schopenhauer had a very different view. According to him, humans are not driven by logic, they are driven by something much deeper and more dangerous. He called it the will. The will is not intelligence, it is not reason, it is a blind force inside us. It pushes us to desire, to react, to protect ourselves, and to avoid pain. And here is the real problem. The will comes first, intelligence comes second. This means most people do not use intelligence to discover truth. They use intelligence to justify what they already feel. They do not ask what is true, they ask what feels right, and then their mind creates arguments to defend that feeling. Modern psychology supports this idea. It is called motivated reasoning. People are not as logical as they think. They are emotional first, logical later. So when you try to correct someone, you are not just challenging their ideas, you are challenging their identity, their ego, and their sense of comfort. That is why they resist, that is why they get defensive, that is why they continue believing something even when it is clearly wrong. It is not just about intelligence, it's about control. Their mind is not leading, their will is. Now think about the consequences of this. This is not just about arguments or debates. This shapes entire lives. People stay in toxic relationships even when they know it is hurting them. People follow bad advice even when better options are available. People ignore opportunities that could completely change their future. Why does this happen? Because accepting the truth requires change, and change threatens the will. It creates discomfort. It forces people to leave what is familiar. So instead, they choose comfort over clarity. They choose illusion over reality. And slowly, without even realizing it, their life becomes a chain of poor decisions, each one justified by their own version of logic. From the outside, it looks like foolishness, but from the inside, it feels completely reasonable. That's the trap. And here is something even more uncomfortable. You are not separate from this. You are part of it. Everyone is influenced by the will. Everyone has blind spots. Everyone has moments where they defend what feels right instead of what is true. The difference is awareness. Some people become aware of this pattern. Most people never do. This is where the real shift begins. Once you truly understand this, you stop expecting people to be rational all the time. You stop wasting energy trying to fix everyone, because you realize something powerful. You cannot reason someone out of something they weren't reasoned into. If a belief comes from emotion, ego, or identity, logic alone will not change it. No matter how intelligent you are, no matter how strong your argument is. So what do most people do? They keep arguing, they keep explaining, they keep trying to win, and in the process they exhaust themselves because they are fighting a battle that cannot be won in the way they are trying to fight it. The awakening is simple but not easy to accept. Not every battle is worth your energy. Not every person is ready to understand, and not every truth needs to be forced onto others. Sometimes the most intelligent response is silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you understand that saying it will change nothing. This is not weakness, this is clarity. When you understand how people actually think, you become more selective. You choose where to invest your time and energy. You recognize who is open to growth and who is trapped in their own patterns. And this is where real intelligence reveals itself, not in winning arguments, but in avoiding unnecessary ones. Now we come to the final realization. Foolishness is not simply a lack of intelligence, it is a lack of awareness. A person can be highly intelligent and still act foolishly if they are controlled by their emotions, and a person with average intelligence can show wisdom if they are aware of their own limitations. So the real question is not why foolish people exist. The real question is how much of that foolishness exists within you. Because the moment you start asking that question, something changes. You become less reactive, less focused on proving others wrong, less attached to your own opinions. You begin observing yourself more carefully. You begin to notice when your ego is trying to protect you. You begin to question your own reactions. And slowly, you gain a level of control that most people never reach. You realize that the world is not divided into smart people and foolish people. It is divided into those who question themselves and those who do not. And that's a difficult truth to accept, because it means the line between wisdom and foolishness is not between you and others, it runs through you. Every decision you make, every belief you hold, every reaction you have. So the next time you feel frustrated by someone's ignorance, pause for a moment. Ask yourself whether you are trying to understand or simply trying to win. Because in the end, true intelligence is not about proving others wrong. It is about not being controlled by the same forces that make them wrong. And once you truly understand this, your perspective changes completely. You stop seeing stupid people, and you start seeing human nature.